Florida State felt like they were wronged by being left out of the college football playoff. Well, their performance against Georgia in the Orange Bowl did little to convince anyone that the Seminoles deserved a shot. The Dogs crushed Florida State 63-3. Seminoles were forced to play with a majority of reserves after about 30 players opted out of the game. Georgia jumped out to a 42-3 halftime lead, went on to win by 60, the largest bowl win in FBS history. Here's FSU head coach Mike Norvell.
For the third time in school history, to be, 13 wins, to be able to win the ACC championship, and against a lot of odds of things that happened and things that occurred, and those guys just, they did respond in a special way. And for the guys that played tonight, and this was their last game, I mean, what warriors? Kalen DeLoach, Dimitri Emanuel, Casey Roddick. I mean, there's James Rosenberry. There's a good number of guys that battled tonight, and they chose to come out here and compete. And there's a special group of young men that I had the opportunity to coach this season. And even though tonight was a disappointing result, this is a special season that will be remembered in Florida State history, and it's because of the young men.
The 60-point loss is the largest loss in Florida State program history. Tough way to end the season, but it doesn't take away from what Mike Norvell and the Noles did in the regular season, 13-0, including winning the ACC championship. All right, let's welcome in former Florida State standout Bryant McFadden. And B-Mac.
Yes, sir.
What do you say to those people that say, see, I told you, they didn't deserve a shot in the playoff?
To those individuals, you don't watch a lot of football. You don't know a lot about football. For me, when you talk about this bowl game here in Miami against UGA, one of the more dominant teams in college football, and you're going to play missing around 30 guys, and out of those 30 players, at least half of them are key significant starters. Good luck in thinking you're going to be successful or sustaining success for 4 quarters against a team that was only missing maybe 2 to 3 big-time contributors. You know what I mean? So I felt like this was going to be an uphill battle in this matchup against UGA. I thought it would be a little closer, not, the deficit that we were able to watch and witness, but this just tells you the life of college football and where we stand today. When I played the game, when I was in college, bowl games mattered. They were super important. Now, when you talk about implementing the playoffs, bowl games don't matter as much. The same can be said for the watchers, the viewers. You don't watch as many bowl games as you used to, and that's just my opinion because you have more to watch when you talk about playoff caliber football that would lead to a championship. So this is the life. I mean, unfortunately for Florida State, they played in a more prominent bowl game where it garnished more attention and more people were talking about the players that decided to opt out, not to mention the snub of not getting into the playoffs. But we witnessed players opting out, not just this year, but last year, the year before. It's been a reoccurring thing that we have to accept as football watchers, as fans of college football in this day and age when you talk about bowl games compared to playoff games. Because I can tell you this much, I once was a student athlete. If my team, they're not playing for a championship, I would consider doing the same thing. Because you know what my mind is focused on now? The next opportunity, which is the NFL. You have to factor this into the equation. College football is like it's a 13, 14 game season, depending on the teams you're playing with. When you factor in conference championship games, that's almost an NFL season. So for the guys that are draft eligible, either you're a junior or a senior, I mean, there's a lot of wear and tear that happens throughout the course of the season. And then if you have aspirations of trying to get to the next level and have your mind and your body in best shape possible, you might consider doing that instead of playing in a bowl game that's not super important when you talk about not being involved in the playoffs. So this is the new life. This is the new stage. When you talk about college football, get used to it. It's not going anywhere.
It's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. Like, do you allow yourself to think what may have been if Jordan Travis never gets injured, the star quarterback for the Seminoles? Like, do you think, oh, if we were this, we might have done this?
You know what?
Because fans do it.
Initially, when Florida State got snubbed, I said if Jordan Travis played and they played to the level that they played when he was healthy, they probably still would have got snubbed.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Because I find it hard to believe if the same upset happened in the SEC championship game, that the SEC would not get into the playoffs because of the prestige of the conference, because of how highly respected the conference is, and the team that lost was Georgia, the #1 team the entire season. So if Alabama beat Georgia, and Jordan Travis was healthy and they just dominated against Florida and Louisville, I think Alabama gets in. So then if Alabama gets in for beating Georgia, what happens with Texas?
Yeah.
Because Texas did what? They beat Alabama, not in Austin, but where? In Tuscaloosa.
Correct.
So even if Jordan Travis was healthy and they still played high-level football against the team like, what, Florida, he missed Florida game in Louisville, the ACC championship game, I still believe they probably would have been snubbed anyway.
All right, after what went down on Saturday, what's your message to the Noles and Florida State fans?
It was a great year. It was a great year because if you go back and let's go to the month of August, we felt like Florida State, I know personally, I knew Florida State was going to have a real good year based on the personnel that I was able to watch and just understanding and knowing the mindset. But for most outsiders looking in, no one thought Florida State would be 13-0, right? No one thought Florida State would be 13-0 at one point in time, one of the 4 best teams in the country with a potential Heisman candidate at the quarterback
I thought
position.
they were going to be good this season.
But you didn't think 13-0.
I'm not saying, I wouldn't sit here and say, like when they beat LSU in week 1, that, to me, that right there and then, Jordan Travis, Heisman Trophy contender.
But before LSU, before you witness one play in play.
I mean, I'm sitting next to you all season long. Of course, I'm thinking they're going to be good next year, right?
Well, you got that's kind of inside information, right? But for most fans that are football fans,
probably did not expect this.
They felt like Florida State would be good,
right?
But not 13-0 good.
Agreed.
You know, some people felt like LSU would be the first loss. Most people felt like Clemson would be another loss, along with maybe another loss down the line. So many people felt like worst case scenario, 3 losses would surface on the schedule for Florida State, and they were able to defy all those odds and finish the regular season undefeated and win the ACC championship. So it was a very, very productive year. It left a bad taste in the mouths of Florida State fans and the current individuals that are attached to the program because, number one, they got snubbed, and number 2, you had to go to battle with less soldiers than the team you were going against in Georgia Bulldogs, and of course the outcome was not the outcome we all wanted.
Well, former Florida State standout Bryant McFadden giving Seminoles Nation a big old hug. I know you appreciate
It's going to be okay. We'll be back.
Yeah, you'll be back.
Yeah.
You'll be back. You'll be good. You'll be back. Appreciate you. Appreciate your honesty there, because that's tough to take, a 60-point loss in a bowl game. But don't feel too bad, okay? Don't feel too bad. Georgia crushed both of its last 2 bowl game opponents. Last year, they crushed TCU in the national championship 65-7. On this day, it was 63-3, the 2 largest bowl wins in FBS history.